ask that the lights be put on so I can see you all. You can see me. And thanks to all of you that have remained this long. And thanks to all the previous speakers for all your great work. I know what it takes to prepare for the presentation and to come up here and do it. As the last speaker, I'm going to attempt to summarize tonight's theme, which is Odyssey, or a journey with a story. I think this story will have particular significance today because coincidentally today happens to be Earth Day. So this story is our story. It's humanity's story. It's our Odyssey. It's our journey. It's how we got here, why we behave as we do, and how and why our social and political attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs must rise to a higher level if we're going to sustain humanity, advance our civilization, succeed as a species, and be able to continue on this journey. Now, the title of this talk, 7 Words That Can Change the World. These 7 words break down into 3 simple rules for living, which I will get to. If we follow these 3 simple rules, we would eliminate the majority of our problems and suffering, but we don't follow them. As a consequence, we have extraordinary amounts of completely avoidable problems and suffering in our troubled world. Now, humanity, for all the power that it wields, knows far too little about what sustains and optimizes life. Our ignorance results in countless problems. In our relationships with each other, everywhere we see inequity, injustice, violence, and suffering. In our relationships with our biosphere, which is the sum of our ecosystems, out of which we evolved and which we require to live, we're literally unraveling and destroying the web of life. All of this is a consequence of ignorance. So how do we reduce ignorance and suffering and expand knowledge and justice? How do we solve our problems so we can continue on this journey? Albert Einstein observed that we can't solve our problems from the same level of thinking at which they originated. But what level of thinking are we at? What level of thinking do we need to get to? How do we get there? It's not easy to get to the next level of thinking. Many people are operating out of primitive, hardwired instincts and emotions that are associated with the primitive origins of our brains. At the same time, operating out of deeply embedded, antiquated, divisive, and dysfunctional supernatural beliefs that are the products of the infancy of our intelligence. These primitive instincts and emotions, which are a biological reality, and these antiquated, divisive, and dysfunctional supernatural beliefs, which are human fabrications, are a lethal combination of behaviors that are not overcome easily. But our primitive behavior and these supernatural beliefs must be overcome if we're going to sustain humanity, advance our civilization, and succeed as a species and continue on this journey. Now, this thing that I'm standing on, and you're sitting on, not the stage, not the seats, the planet. This thing is 4.5 billion years old. It took billions of years of evolution before we showed up. Very briefly, here's how it happened. Life began 3.8 billion years ago. Single cell, microorganisms. Multicellular plants and animals didn't come along until billions of years later, 670 million years ago. 525 million years ago, the age of vertebrates and invertebrates began. 245 million years ago, the age of reptiles began. That age ended about 65 million years ago when a flaming asteroid, described to be the size of a city, 7 to 50 miles in diameter, struck the planet in an area known as Chicxulub, Mexico, on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico, about 1,300 miles directly south of where we are right now. That explosion killed off all the dinosaurs, the giant marine reptiles. 75 to 80% of life was destroyed. It ended the age of reptiles and began the age of mammals 65 million years ago, although some mammals had already been here for 200 million years. So the age of mammals began 65 million years ago. Tens of millions of years of evolution continued before we showed up, about 5 to 6 million years ago, the family of humans known as the hominids. Now, at that time, 5 to 6 million years ago, from a common ape ancestor, the chimpanzees and the bonobos moved off in one direction, and we, the family of humans, moved off into another direction. For 5 to 6 million years, the family of humans, the hominids, lived as Stone Age hunter-gatherers. Within that 5 to 6 million year time frame, 2.3 million years ago, our genus, Homo, showed up. It was our genus, but it wasn't our species. It was a species by the name of Homo habilis. Our species, Homo sapiens, showed up 300,000 years ago in Africa. For the 300,000 years we have been here, we've mostly been Stone Age, hunter-gatherers. 10 to 12,000 years ago, with the domestication of plants and animals in various locations, our agrarian age began. The last 10 to 12,000 years, we've mostly been agrarians. A little over 200 years ago, very recently, in the late 1700s in England, the Industrial Age began. By 1850, it spread to Belgium, Germany, France, the United States, and eventually to other industrialized countries. About the middle of last century, we began our transition from the Industrial Age to the post-industrial, high-tech, digital, information and communication age in which we live today. Now, we showed up on a tiny, tiny, tiny planet in a very narrow and fragile band of this particular solar system. It's called the habitable zone of this solar system, which is one of 200 to 400 billion of these things, solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy, which is one galaxy of trillions of galaxies in the universe. And the universe, according to numerous astrophysicists, may be just one universe of countless universes in a multiverse. So we showed up on this tiny, tiny planet. This thing's only 8,000 miles in diameter. It's 24,000 miles in circumference. It's 3 millionths the size of the sun. On this tiny little speck of a planet, there exist countless interrelated, interdependent, interconnected life forms. We have entire plant and animal kingdoms. In the animal kingdom, we're a mammal. A mammal is a hairy species that feeds its young from mammary glands. It could be small as a shrew, 1/4 of an ounce, as large as a whale, 140 tons. We're one of about 5,500 species of mammals. Now, we share this planet with countless incredible creatures. We have creatures with feathers we call birds. Creatures with gills in the water we call fish. Scaly skin creatures we call reptiles. Creatures born in the water with gills then develop lungs that feed on the land are called amphibians. Creatures with more than 4 jointed legs are called arthropods. Those are insects and spiders and crustaceans like prawns and crabs and myriapods like centipedes and millipedes. Then we have the whole plant kingdom, the whole the land-based plants and the water-based plants. All of these life forms, extraordinary, incredible, countless, interconnected, interrelated, interdependent life forms are trying to survive on this tiny little speck of a planet. As recently as 1900, there were 1.6 billion of us. Today, 124 years later, we have well in excess of 8 billion of us, and each week, every 7 days, after births and deaths, we add in excess of 1.5 million more. It's thought in the 2080s the population will level off at 10.4 billion people. Now, the 8+ billion people that we have on the planet now live in a mix of nation states. We have 195 nation states. The way things have worked out for humanity is that many of these 8+ billion people in many of these 195 nation states are fighting with each other every day, everywhere, in every way imaginable. This fighting contributes to life's unpredictability, instability, and uncertainty. But it's not the only thing that contributes to life's unpredictability, instability, and uncertainty. We've got the fickleness of nature. When you live on one of these things called planets, they all have natural disasters. The one we live on, we've got earthquakes and we've got hurricanes. The other parts of the world are known as typhoons and cyclones. So we've got earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, tornadoes, tsunamis, forest fires, floods, droughts, and other severe weather phenomena. But that's not all that contributes to life's unpredictability, instability, and uncertainty. We've got an extraordinary number of illnesses that we contract, with which we suffer. Countless accidents and injuries that occur regularly. All manner of addictions and substance abuse and related problems. All kinds of criminal and deviant behavior going on every day, everywhere, in every way imaginable. If all of that taken together is not way more than enough to deal with, on top of it, on our journey, as a consequence of having so many people and not understanding our reality and the behavioral demands of our reality, we've created an interrelated web of life-threatening environmental problems. We're depleting our resources, our forests, our fisheries, our rangelands, our croplands, our plant and animal species. We're destroying our biological diversity on which evolution thrives. The 6th mass extinction is going on now. It's the first caused by other than a natural event like an asteroid striking the planet or climate change. For the 5 mass extinctions we've had so far, 4 of them were caused by climate change. This one that's going on now is caused by something different, something unique. It's being caused by us. And with powerful electrical, diesel, and solar pumping techniques, we're draining our aquifers. We're lowering our water tables. We're systemically polluting our air, our water, and our soil, and our food chain. We now have microplastic and nanoplastic contaminants in our food and water. We have plastic in our food and water. That comes from, among other reasons, dumping 14 million tons of plastic garbage in our oceans every year. That is a consequence of sending gases, greenhouse gases like methane, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide into our atmosphere. Our atmosphere extends from here up 6,200 miles. Beyond that, it's just called outer space. Our atmosphere is divided into 5 layers. The lowest layer is called the troposphere. That's where these gases are getting trapped. These gases in the troposphere are not allowing the warm air from our planet to escape into outer space. As a consequence, it's like we're living in a hothouse. It's getting warmer and warmer. The warming planet is changing the climate. We're experiencing, as you know, you hear about it every day, we're experiencing symptoms of global warming and climate change. Heat waves, devastating droughts, destruction of croplands, dying forests, accelerated species extinction, destruction of coral reefs, melting glaciers, rising sea levels, more frequent and intense storms, coastal flooding, more rapid spread of diseases and pandemics, acidification and poisoning of the oceans, famine, starvation, human migration, heat deaths, economic collapse, social conflict and potential wars, all associated with global warming and climate change, which many people still believe that it does not even exist. And many more people think that we are not the cause of it with the greenhouse gases that we send into the atmosphere, particularly carbon dioxide from the burning of fossil fuels, which means burning the remains of dead plants and animals that are embedded in the Earth's crust in the form of coal, oil, and gas. How much carbon dioxide are we sending into the atmosphere? 2.6 million pounds into the atmosphere. How frequently? Every year, month, week, day, every second. 2.6 million pounds, and it's on the rise. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list of environmental problems, and problems of these scales interact with each other and cause other ominous, unpredictable, unprecedented problems known as multi-hazards. That's when an ordinary weather event becomes a disaster. This thing we call life is fragile and perilous. It's up and down like a seesaw. We're sitting on the seesaw. It's not an accident in the theater where for thousands of years we've been telling the stories of our lives, of our journeys. We have for symbols the mask of comedy and tragedy, joy and sorrow. Life has always been this way. For answers, we turn to two diametrically opposite disciplines, science and religion. Now, science is a very formal, rigid, evidence-based discipline. Those are the key words, evidence-based. Science requires testing and retesting to arrive at its principles and scientific theories. A scientific theory is not to be confused with a non-scientific theory where someone's casually theorizing about something. A scientific theory is based on evidence. It's based on facts. Any scientist, observer, or tester must replicate nearly exactly the same results time after time, no matter where the test is made. Science is almost perverse in its method of testing, trying to get its theories to break. But science is very open and welcomes and celebrates change when new discoveries are made. Now, religion, on the other hand, is an untested collection of dogmatic principles. It's dogma. What is dogma? Dogma is an arrogant assertion that someone's ideas and opinions are factual without evidence. It's typically from supernatural sources and something we refer to as divine revelation. What is divine revelation? Divine revelation means communicating with gods and other supernatural entities. And you may ask, well, who does that? Who communicates with gods and other supernatural entities? Well, it seems that we have an entire priestly class that claims to be able to do this. In fact, it's critical to understand that this phenomenon that we call religion came along thousands of years ago when priests and priestesses invented themselves, which they continue to do today. Now, religion does not like change or challenges to its dogma. If you change a few words, it's so-called revealed religion. Religions unravel and splinter into smaller groups. These groups unravel and splinter into smaller groups. Christianity, the religion in which I was raised, has about 45,000 sects and denominations. Evidence of religion, art, and recorded events goes back 50,000 years into the Old Stone Age. There's been an estimated 100,000 religions. Today we have in excess of 4,000 existing religions. Here's some symbols of some of the better-known religions, most of which I think you'll recognize. We've got Christianity with one God, Judaism with one God, Jainism, no gods, North American native spirituality, there's many varieties of that, Baha'ism, that's the unity of all religions, Buddhism, no gods, Taoism, no gods, Islam, one God, Hinduism, multiple gods, Japanese Shintoism with multiple gods, and Sikhism, the fifth largest religion today with one God, should be included in this group. These stories cause great worldwide confusion, conflict, suffering, and wars. As you know, many, many wars have been fought over these stories. We kill each other over these stories. It's the ultimate irony and complete absurdity that we create these stories to establish examples of exemplary behavior and proper rules for living, and then we kill each other over these stories. One does not have to be a genius to conclude there's something not only absurd, but fundamentally wrong here. What's fundamentally wrong here is that our mental and emotional infrastructure, our mental and emotional infrastructure responsible for our primitive behavior and supernatural beliefs is outdated for the world in which we live today. It doesn't work. Our primitive behavior and supernatural beliefs will not sustain humanity. The way to think about this is to think about our physical infrastructure today, roads, bridges, and water systems, and so forth. Whatever primitive infrastructure existed thousands of years ago when our primitive behavior and supernatural beliefs originated, way back into the Agrarian Age, 10, 12,000 years ago, into the Stone Age, 20,000 or 50,000 years ago. Whatever primitive infrastructure existed then obviously could not sustain humanity today. Well, our primitive behavior and supernatural beliefs from that time cannot sustain humanity today. Our social and political attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs must rise to a higher level. If we're going to sustain humanity and advance our civilization, succeed as a species, and be able to continue on this journey, this is not optional. This is imperative. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer observed that all truth passes through three stages. First, it's ridicule. Second, it's violently opposed. Third, it's accepted as being self-evident. Now, such a truth has emerged in our lifetime. It informs us that we exist as a tiny fragment of an immensely larger, interlocking whole, which all the parts are interconnected and depend upon each other for survival. Let me repeat that. We exist as a tiny fragment of an immensely larger, interlocking whole, which all the parts are interconnected and depend upon each other for survival. Simply put, everything's connected to everything else. We exist not separately, but in communion with all other living things. Life's an interrelated, interdependent phenomenon. Everything's in relationship. That's the nature of the universe. That's the nature of life. That's the nature of the reality in which we exist. Like it or not, reality has behavioral demands. That's just if you want to stick around, if you want to live, if you want to continue on the journey. Those behavioral demands can be summarized in 7 words. Be healthy. Be kind. Respect the environment. These 7 words have the power to change life as we know it, the way we govern, the laws we have, the way we do business, the products we create, the services we offer, the way we treat our employees, the way we treat the environment, the way we treat each other, the way we treat ourselves. Be healthy, be kind, respect the environment. Leaders must model this behavior. Teachers must teach it, and we must exhibit it if we're going to sustain humanity, if we're going to advance our civilization, if we're going to succeed as a species. This requires entering into a completely new understanding of our reality and what's truly sacred in our world. It's not about supreme beings, it's about a way of being. It's about those relationships in life having to do with our health, each other, and our environment, which at our peril, we cannot violate, damage, dishonor, or destroy. If we violate these relationships as an individual, as a nation, as a civilization, we suffer. And then we disintegrate. And then we perish. It's simply the way life works. It's not contrived or fiction. It's not arbitrary or subject to dismissal, nor is it in any way negotiable. How we take care of ourselves, each other, and the environment determines not only the quality of our lives, but whether we live or die. These relationships are sacred. They're the wellsprings of life. We emerge from these relationships. We're sustained by them. We're surrounded by the very sacredness that historically we've sought from afar. Our window of opportunity to make the necessary and monumental shift in thinking is small compared to the large obstacles in our current belief systems that must be dissolved. Yeah, we must do this if we and all the life forms that share this jewel of the planet are going to survive. Be healthy, be kind, respect the environment. Why are those words so critical and powerful? Because we exist as a tiny fragment of an immensely larger interlocking whole. Those are the operative words. Interlocking whole in which all the parts are interconnected and depend upon each other for survival. This interlocking whole is the undeniable foundation for the architecture of life and our civilization. If we continue to destroy the relationships that form this foundation, relationships that affect our health, each other and our environment, our house, our structure, our civilization will collapse. Conversely, if we honor these relationships, we'll succeed and prosper in every way. The choice is ours, as it always has been. The difference today is we know a great deal more about what sustains and optimizes life. It's time that we honor the knowledge that we have. Only then will we improve the quality of our lives. Arrest and reverse our destructive and unsustainable momentum. End our needless suffering. Prosper together. Find peace. Sustain humanity. Advance our civilization. Succeed as a species and be able to continue on our journey. And that, my friends, is the end of my story.